Hi guys, e don red for social media everywhere don scatter as Tinubu's son bought a house of $10.8 million in UK when he was 30 years old. Guys, social media don boom.
Well, let's begin what's trending with reactions trailing the Bloomberg investigation that linked Sheyi Tinubu, son of Nigeria's president-elect Bola Ahmed Tinubu, to the purchase of a fraud-tainted $10.8 million property in the United Kingdom. Sheyi was said to have purchased the property in 2017 through Aranda Overseas Corp, an offshore company in which he is a main shareholder. The investigation maintained that there is no suggestion that Tinubu was personally involved in the acquisition of the property. According to the Bloomberg report, the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission in 2016 secured an order to seize the property from Kola Aluko, an ally of Desiani Alison Madueke, former Minister of Petroleum. Interestingly, the forfeiture order was still in force when Tinubu's son bought the house out of receivership. Well, let's take some reactions. This is from Fishayo Swombo, who wrote, in 2020, Alpha Beta's MD said in a writ of summons that 500 million naira was diverted to Starcom's Aranda Resources. We now know Tinubu's son, Sheyi, is its main shareholder. Connecting the dots, Tinubu using Alpha Beta to pay his son, Sheyi, millions. Well, Kweku wrote, so 6 years ago, while Sheyi Tinubu was still 30 years old, he was able to afford a 7.5 billion naira cash payment for a house in London, a house that was lined up for seizure by the Buhari administration due to corruption ties, was suddenly bought over by Tinubu's son, and he paid in cash. Well, Amotaya wrote, from a legal perspective, this is a clean transaction for Sheyi. Don't just look good. To be fair on Sheyi Tinubu, if the property had been on receivership by Deutsche Bank, then it means that it was no longer Aluko's property. With how receivership works, the Nigerian government would not have been able to take it over anyways. It will have just been sold to anyone. Receivership is defined as a legal process in which a creditor, that is Deutsche Bank, assumes ownership of a debtor, Aluko's property, after they default on a mortgage that is secured by a fixed legal charge. Well, the odd question is whether Aluko deliberately defaulted on his mortgage so that the Nigerian government could no longer confiscate it as proceeds of embezzlement allegations. The transaction by Sheyi Tinubu by itself, it's not illegal, but the circumstances are shady. Well, Ayo, this whole conversation was huge on social media. I mean, the first question is, what is Bloomberg's interest in this whole deal? I mean, is the United Kingdom, are they questioning this transaction? Are they questioning the property? Why is Bloomberg interested at this point?
Well, Bloomberg is an international media house, and they have a right to investigate cases of interest. Now, in terms of the United Kingdom's interest, the property itself is in St. John's Wood, which is in North London, which is in the United Kingdom. And we know that in the past, with efforts with regards to illegal use of money or money laundering or purchase of property using illegally gotten funds, the UK has indicated in the past interest to support Nigeria in repatriating funds that have come from loots or through illegal means. So perhaps we can see that as an angle as to the UK's interest, Bloomberg's interest. But at the end of the day, we have a report, and the report doesn't look very clear. There are grey areas. To be honest, Sheyi Tinubu is a private citizen. It's his dad, Asiwaju Bola Ahmed Tinubu, who's run for presidency and who is now the president-elect. However, he is an interest in terms of a figure because, of course, he's the son of the president-elect. And so what he does could reflect poorly or well on his father. The lawyers have spoken. There's no legal implication, at least up until now, for Asiwaju Bola Ahmed Tinubu, or would affect his swearing in because he's not listed in Aranda. It is his son, Sheyi Tinubu. But then there are other questions, Audrey, which some tweets have already suggested. Number one is that this deal is not very straightforward. It was in receivership. The owner Kola Aluko, Jidomokore, were under investigation at the time for corruption, or especially linked to the former Minister of Petroleum, Alison Madueke, Desiani Alison Madueke, Mrs. Desiani Alison Madueke. So it is quite interesting, and I think that this is just the beginning of what really transpired. But what's also important is that we now begin to understand and see the owners of these SPVs, special purpose vehicles, or companies that buy houses. Finally, I just want to say something in terms of the question that was asked with regards to sources of income, because that then becomes a big question. What does Sheyi Tinubu do? What was he doing at the age of 30 in terms of occupation? Was this money proceeds from his father's real estate business? Was this part of the real estate business investment they had done? So these are the kind of... I know today he's a media owner in terms of he owns billboards around the area and a few businesses here and there. What was he doing at the age of 30 for him to be able to afford cash down without mortgge? This was listed in the Bloomberg report. But also brings to question the condo that was bought by Tinubu's younger daughters as well in New York. They are private citizens, but then questions must arise as Nigerians as to what's the source of the income.
Well, Dr. Bati, Bloomberg did mention that Tinubu was now personally involved in the acquisition, but there was also another report that Bloomberg also mentioned, which is a Premium Time report that stated that Tinubu and Buhari had visited that house in London. I mean, this raises a lot of questions as to what really is going on.